about question 1 of the TOEFL speaking section. Now, as you probably know, question 1 is going to be the same in every test. It's always going to be a very similar type of question. It's always going to be a personal question, and not only a personal question, it's going to be an open-ended question, which means you have many options for answering the question. Now, that can make it kind of difficult for some students, as sometimes they're not sure what they want to talk about or what to pick for answering the questions. So that's something that you need to get better at over time, is quickly choosing what you're going to speak about so that you can start taking notes and preparing for answering the question. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to just talk about question 1. We're going to talk about a few examples real briefly, and then we're going to do 2 examples and cover it more in depth. I'm going to show you how to take notes, how to answer the question, and how to use up the 45 seconds that you need to use for answering the question. Okay, so here's a few examples we're just going to talk about for a minute. First example says, describe your favorite celebrity and explain why this person is your favorite. Use details and examples to support your answer. Now, as you know, you have to choose a celebrity, but not only in your country, but around the world, there's many celebrities, so it still could be a difficult decision on who you want to choose to speak about. So you need to be able to quickly choose who's your favorite, why do you want to talk about that person. So I will use Brad Pitt as an example. Say, describe your favorite celebrity. So I would start off by saying, my favorite celebrity is Brad Pitt, and then I would start giving examples of why he's my favorite celebrity. At the end of the speech, after I give the 2 reasons of why he's my favorite, I could say, for these reasons, Brad Pitt is my favorite celebrity. Okay, the second question is, describe the characteristics of a good parent. Use details and examples to support your answer. Okay, good characteristics. What are some things that you think make a good parent? I could start off by saying, some of the characteristics that make a good parent are honesty, or some of the characteristics that make a good parent are taking care of their children, or something like that. Then, at the end, for these reasons, I believe that honesty is a good characteristic of a good parent. The third question is, describe your favorite subject in school and explain why you like it the most. Provide specific examples and details in your explanation. So one of the ways I could start off this question is, I could say, my favorite subject in school was science. Then I could explain the reasons for why science was my favorite class. Usually I'm going to use 2 examples for a 45-second question. But if I run out, I could think of something quickly and some small example to use up the rest of the time. Then at the end of the question I would say, for these reasons, science was my favorite subject in school. Alright, so these are just 3 brief examples, and you're going to see questions very similar to this in TOEFL tests. Alright, so now we're going to really dig into this question. Question 1 says, choose a teacher you admire and explain why you admire that person. Use specific details and examples to support your opinion. So, I thought of the person I admired, then I took notes, then I figured out how I would answer the question. So these are the notes that I came up with. As you know from the other video, when we talk about the layout of the writing section, the speaking section, you know that the main topic is teacher, right? Who is your favorite teacher? So the subtopic would be my favorite teacher, who would be Mrs. Smith. Alright? There's 2 reasons I came up with why Mrs. Smith is my favorite teacher. One is she gave homework help. Now remember, you have to give an explanation of your example for it to make sense. So, I wrote homework help as the example, and I wrote gave extra time and patient as my explanation of my example. So even though these are not complete sentences, they're still going to help me remember what I need to say. You only have 15 seconds to take notes, not very much time, so you're not going to have a lot of time to take a lot of notes. So you need to be able to quickly take notes. They're going to remind you what you're going to say. My second example was interaction, and my explanation of that example was spend time with students and helped with problems. Now, those are going to be better explained in my speech, but to me, I know what these key words mean, and they remind me of what I want to say. Now, before I get started, something that you need to remember about the speaking section is that you don't need to rush. You do need to cover everything you want to talk about for answering the questions, but there's no need to speak very quickly. You want to speak at a good pace so that your grader can see that you have a good, strong hold on English and that you can still answer the question while speaking at a good speed. Alright, so here's my answer to the question. I'm just going to read this. This takes about 45 seconds to read, and I will give you some kind of an idea of at what speed to answer these questions so that it sounds good, easy to understand, and still uses up the time. I said, a teacher that I admire is Mrs. Smith, my math teacher. She is always very generous in giving me extra time to do my homework when I struggle. She is also very patient with me when I do not understand a math problem. Another reason that she is my favorite teacher is that she has great interaction with all of her students and enjoys being with them. She doesn't just help students with math, but also with any personal problems that they may be struggling with. She is a very rare teacher since she is so patient with her students and tries to help them in every way she can. I will miss her very much when I graduate from my school. For these reasons, Mrs. Smith is a teacher that I admire. Okay, did you see how I spoke nice and steady, not too quickly, but still covered everything I wanted to talk about? Also, I put my two examples here in bold so you can see them. Remember, if you have them in your notes, chances are you're going to talk about them in your speech. So you want to make sure that these are the main points that you talk about and that you stay focused on the question. Okay, let's try another one. Question 2 says, what is the most memorable class you have taken and why? Include specific examples and details in your explanation. Let's go to the notes for this question. Okay, so my main topic is class because the question is, what is your most memorable class? Speech class is a subtopic because speech class was my most memorable class. Now, I came up with 2 reasons for speech class. As you can see, I don't have a lot of notes for this question, but I don't need a lot of notes because I personally know and remember why speech class is my most memorable class. So my first example is learning. My explanation of the example is simply, I became a good speaker. I'll explain these more once we get to the actual answering time. My second example was fun. My explanation says, made close friends and enjoyed other speeches. Okay, so again, you only have 15 seconds to take these notes. You need to be able to quickly take them. For me, I can write this very quickly, but since these are good key words, they remind me what I need to speak about and how to answer the question. Okay, so now I'll read this. This also takes about 45 seconds. I'm just going to read nice and steadily, not too fast, clearly, with good pronunciation to answer the question. The most memorable class I have taken is speech class. There are 2 things that made this class so memorable. The first thing is that I learned many new things about giving speeches. I never knew there were so many parts that need to be included in making a good speech. As a result, I was able to give strong, clear speeches even in front of large crowds. The second thing was that I had a fun time in my class as I made many new friends. I also was able to enjoy listening to the speeches of my new friends and learn about them. This also helped me to become a better speaker myself. This class has given me many good memories. For these reasons, the most memorable class I have taken is speech class. Okay, so you can see at the beginning and the end, I used the question as part of my answer. I said, the most memorable class I have taken is speech class. Well, here's the question. I just turned it around and made it a statement. And at the end, for these reasons, the most memorable class I have taken is speech class. Same thing. I took the question, turned it around, and made it a statement so that it's clear for me when I'm speaking to the listener that I'm answering the question correctly. Also, you can see that again, I put in bold my 2 examples so that I remember to answer them. Okay, so if you want to start writing these as practice before you get to your TOEFL test, perhaps that will help you. And then slowly stop writing and just speak, only using your notes as practice. within a 45-second time range. Also, I would suggest giving only 15 seconds for notes so that you get used to that short amount of time of taking notes, because that's very important. If you get used to taking notes in a longer amount of time, you're really going to struggle when you get to the TOEFL test because you won't have enough time to take your notes. Alright, so just a quick review. One thing you want to do is take clear, concise notes. Make sure that you understand your notes. Okay, stay in time limit. You need to practice taking notes with only 15 seconds for question 1 and 2, or only 30 seconds for question 3 and 4, and only 20 seconds for question 5 and 6. Another thing is take your time. Remember, I said don't rush. There's no need to hurry. You just need to keep a good steady pace while you're answering the question. Third one is pronunciation. Be clear. These two go together. If you take your time and don't rush yourself, then your pronunciation is going to be better, and you're going to be able to more clearly answer the question, and your grader will clearly understand what you're saying and know that you know how to do your best in answering question 1.